most frightening things, which are active shooter situations. Right. Not the whole of gun violence, but in the active shooter situations, I had our team of analysts put together. We gathered from, because we can do that, we asked law enforcement to give us all of the research, all the cases where they felt might fall into these categories. And then we plowed through them and came up with the data to see what is an active shooter situation and how many have we had. And so the FBI's research, our team did that first research. I was a co-author on that. And we found some surprising things that really are relevant to the idea for me about when do you employ technical solutions and what are the best ones to do. Because the research told us that of the 160 incidents that we looked at over a 14-year period, 70% of those ended in 5 minutes or less. Yeah. If 70% ended in 5 minutes or less, and half of them in 2 minutes or less, then what is the most important thing is to create distance and barriers between you and your shooters. That is the most important thing. So when I wrote that book that I pulled out, Stop the Killing, How to End the Mass Shooting Crisis, on the chapter that has to do with businesses and schools, I said, distance is the most important thing, and the most important thing you need first is locks and doors.
Quick question for you. Why is access control an important part of your overall workplace violence, active shooter prevention, resource environment?
That's a great question. And, when we looked at this initially, I started off at Saddleback College about 8 years ago. But prior to that, I had a 30-year career with the Orange County Sheriff's Department. I had worked in a major sports venue here in the Los Angeles area, a very big one. And so I had a pretty broad background, including 11 years tactical. So when I went to Saddleback College, we were already embarking down a pathway towards addressing the issue of electronic access control. And I love, those of you who haven't had a chance to read Kate's book, it's probably the most comprehensive look at active shooter and threats that we face around there. So I encourage you to get one of those and read it. It's fantastic, and I think they're available here. But really, I love what she's talking about. She's talking about threat assessments and really looking at the problem. Research has shown us that, active shooters are taking place at an increasing rate throughout the nation. Like our watershed incident that occurred in Columbine way back when. These things tend to increase in both lethality and frequency as time moves on. This is a problem that's not going to go away. To say that it's not or that it can't happen to you, that's probably one of the worst things that we could do is say that. And one of the things that we've learned as we've researched active shooter is we've seen that barriers to the shooter for them, preventing them to being able to get access to victims, particularly locked doors, is important. And we've seen that time and time again. And we've looked at various researched various incidents, including Virginia Tech, Parkland, Santa Monica City College. There's a pretty interesting HBO special out there that highlights what happened at Santa Monica College, and they do a great interview with a librarian there who doesn't have electronic access control, but she sees a gunman enter the library dressed in all black with a long gun, and he identifies himself as law enforcement, and she's like, I don't think so. And the first thing she does is try to move away from the threat. She moves to a storage area and locks herself in there with some other employees. And if anybody knows better on this thing, please correct me on this thing. But she locks herself in there. The gunman actually shoots through the door and tries to shoot the lock, hits nobody on the inside, and law enforcement neutralizes the threat right on the outside. Yeah. Virginia Tech, I could give you examples of that, and I don't want to take up all of our time giving specific examples, but Virginia Tech, they didn't have access control, and people lost their lives literally holding the doors closed to try to protect their fellow students and staff members.
Similar story, we have family who had a child of theirs in the classroom. That 3 of the 4 students were killed during the process. In their case, this infrastructure at Michigan State had 0 controls on the doors, 0. To the point that you made that comment about the employee laying on their back. The professor in the classroom had 2 doors he had to secure. He laid on his back in one, held the door closed while the students threw furniture out the back window and jumped 7 feet down to the ground to escape. 3 of the students never made it out. Well, guess what Michigan State did 6 months later? We put out an RFP for physical access control and other technology mechanisms and improvement process to hopefully try to restrict something like that from happening.
I do have a little bit of experience and I'm happy to share it with anybody. I encourage you, if you're interested in access control, please come to our campus, visit what we're doing. Or if you had a business or a campus or something that wanted to learn more about access control, or you thought that it might be applicable to your business, I will take the time and I'll come, and free of charge, I'll come and take my own time because it's something I believe in, and I think it's something that's time has come.
Yeah.